That's called revolution. That's the definition.
Good answers. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wow. Mr. Bradley.
As the father of Air Force Academy graduate, can you tell me what is significant about this coming October 4th, Saturday at 2:30?
I would say that would be the founding of the Air Force Academy 55 years ago.
Oh, no, that's when Air Force is going to beat Navy.
Oh, there we go. I guess you got me pinned there, sir.
Mr. Bradley does that to people. Just ignore him.
He's good.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Maynard, did you have your hand up?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Ronald Rocha, followed by Lisa Humphrey, followed by Red Smith.
Good day. My name is Ronald Rocha. I am a direct descendant of the indigenous people enslaved to build the first mission in Texas. We have a gross error in the books here when we refer to someone as Hispanic or Latino. When you refer to them, it is the N-word of our race of people. We are not named after a language of Spanish. We were here long before the Europeans set foot
On the American continent. When Cortez arrived here, he was greeted by the Mexica that he named, that he noted in his journals as the Mexica, the Native Americans of the continent, that the Spaniards called Mexicanos. When the Anglo arrived in the United States, he killed all the Indians and imprisoned them, but it is not said that he mixed with the Indians and created a new race of people to obliviate them and enforce his religious beliefs on them. Our religious beliefs were enforced on us by either choosing the Bible or having our heads cut off. The Christian morals and values that founded this country have totally excluded us as a people and label us Hispanics, Latinos, Chicanos, whatever you want, any social label except Native Americans. We are human beings. We are not savages. We do not want our children to live in a multiple choice society where they can pick anything they want to be except American. We need, and the textbooks must identify us as Native Americans. The mestizo thing, it never happened. The population of Spain was 1 million when Cortez arrived here, and the population of the American continent was 100 million. The mix never happened. It never took place. We have been lied to. The textbooks have lied to us. And we pray that y'all will take note of this and stop this and recognize us as human beings and as a people, as a Native American people, dignified of that respect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Mr. Maynard?
Mr. Rocha, thank you for coming out today. Did you submit a document that just gave some very specific examples of what needs to be addressed?
I can.
Okay, yeah. That's what we have to have is that we need to know what book, what publisher, and what your perceived issues are, and if you can get those to the staff by September 30th, that would help us.
It's very difficult because our own government that will not admit that it slaughtered 30 million Native Americans here is like asking the Vatican to give us copies of Cortez's records.
Okay. Well,
but we will get you that information.
That would be great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Lisa Humphrey, followed by Red Smith, followed by Emil Lester. Lisa Humphrey.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Humphrey, and I serve as the Assistant Regional Director for the Austin region of the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL. Please forgive me. I sat here all day, and I'm not feeling really good at the moment, but I wanted to get my testimony in. We thank the board for the opportunity to speak about the proposed social studies textbooks for Texas public school students. The ADL is a human rights, civil rights, and education organization. We are dedicated in purpose and in program to combating anti-Semitism and all forms of bigotry. The ADL has offices in Austin, Dallas, and Houston. In serving a statewide constituency, the ADL has perspective from El Paso to Marshall, from Wichita Falls to the Valley. For over 100 years, we have been an ardent advocate for securing justice and fair treatment for all. As a Jewish organization that provides Holocaust education to teachers and students, we understand the vital importance of accurately imparting historical knowledge of human prosecution and oppression to the next generation, which serves as a vehicle to hinder further oppression. This accuracy is obtained by presenting materials in an objective manner and allowing conclusions to be made by the student, not to be projected by the text. We urge the State Board of Education to critically review the submitted text for objective presentation. A fundamental component of teaching history is getting the facts correct. We've talked a lot about facts today. Some of the submitted textbooks exhibit an ideological bias that is not appropriate for the public school classroom. For instance, in Harcourt's World History, the text states, "Because one of Jesus' basic principles was the equality of all people in the eyes of God, equality before the law became a central belief within the Judeo-Christian tradition. This statement assumes that students come into the classroom with an understanding of Jesus' basic principles. It also begs a theological debate about where the notion originated, either in Judaism or Christianity." I include several other examples at the end of the statement to be entered into the record where the material found in the textbooks contains inaccuracy or bias that could lead the student to believe in factual inaccuracies. These examples are merely illustrations of the harm that could come from selecting social studies texts that fail to present history objectively. We urge you to consider objectivity as the deciding factor when you make your final textbook selections for students in social studies classrooms throughout the state of Texas. Thank you, and thank you for bearing with me today.
You did well.
All right.
Just hope you feel better.
Thank you. I can wait for questions.
Thank you. Mr. Ratliff.
I see you listed 3 specifics. Were there any other specific titles that you had concerns with, or are you going to turn anything else in addition to this?
No, we actually have 4 specifics. There's one on page 2, and then there's the 3 other ones. We will continue to look at it, and we might turn in some others.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mrs. Knight.
Okay.
Did you have an opportunity to see what the coalition what's her name? She was one of the first speakers. We got the big packet from them.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, ma'am, I did.
You have seen it?
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Red Smith, followed by Emil Lester, and Marali Balaji. Red Smith, Emil Lester,
Thank you for getting my name correct.
Oh, wow.
Good afternoon. My name is Emil Lester. I'm an associate professor in political science at the University of Mary Washington in Virginia. My review of 7 proposed U.S. government textbooks revealed concerns in a number of areas, including religious influences on the founders and free enterprise. I'll focus on religious influences on the founders. The true story of how religion shaped America today is rich and inspirational. Without the evangelical Great Awakening of the 1700s, the American Revolution may not have happened. Without the efforts of that pious Baptist, Roger Williams, securing religious freedom would have taken much longer. It's a shame that with so much to celebrate about the relationship of American history and the Judeo-Christian tradition, that 5 of the 7 textbooks up for adoption felt the need to exaggerate and invent claims about this relationship. The Pearson text, for instance, claims to find the roots of democracy in the Judeo-Christian tradition and the rule of Moses and Solomon. I know one board member likes to challenge people to find the phrase separation of church and state in the Constitution. I'd like to challenge you to find the word democracy in the Bible. Suggesting that King Solomon was a Democrat is like describing Ronald Reagan as a communist. I'm Jewish, and I believe Solomon and Moses were great leaders. They were not democratic leaders. The perfection, Houghton Mifflin, and McGraw-Hill texts claim in different ways that the Ten Commandments influence the founders' views on law and the Constitution. This is like saying that because Rick Perry supports some federal spending, he and Barack Obama are equally tax and spend liberals. Just because two people or things have a little in common doesn't mean they're the same. The Bible has laws, and so did the early American Republic, but John Adams, in a famous letter to Thomas Jefferson, went out of his way to deny the Ten Commandments influence our legal system. If these passages remain in the textbooks, you are jeopardizing the reputation of both the founders and the Bible. Because if the text may claim that students can show are false with a basic Google search, why should students trust anything the text or teachers say about the true influence of Judeo-Christian views on the founders? Thank you.
All right, sir, thank you.
Done?
Marilee
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Balaji, Yanis Banks, and Patty Quincy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Murali Balaji. I'm the Director of Education and Curriculum Reform for the Hindu American Foundation. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the time to offer my testimony as a scholar and community member on this textbook adoption, which is of the utmost importance for teachers. You have an unenviable task before you, and I
commend you all for your dedication to ensure our textbooks are fair and accurate. I'm speaking today because despite updates to scholarship on religion and history, most of the textbook submissions are factually inaccurate when it comes to information about Hinduism and on ancient India. Several of the proposed textbooks in world geography and world history, for instance, are using information that has been debunked or isn't grounded in substantiated evidence. One key example is the Aryan invasion theory in Discovery's submission, which has been outdated for at least 40 years. As a result, the errors will continue to hinder Texas teachers' ability to get accurate information to their students, and as a result, prevent Texas from having the kind of top-notch education we all know it can possess. We counted 122 factual errors with a team of scholars whose specialty is history and religion. HAF submitted a spreadsheet of these factual errors, including the specific passages. We have also submitted these errors as well as suggested rewordings from the scholars directly to the publishers. These errors affect all Texans because they make us know less about our neighbors and the people we work with, whether we're in Houston, the Metroplex, San Antonio, Midland, Odessa, and even right here in Austin. These errors, some of which have stayed in textbooks for years, should offend those who believe in fairness. Well, while we're suggesting doesn't necessarily require significant rewrites. In fact, the publishers can fix these errors in a matter of days, if not hours. We ask you, as representatives of proud Texans across all walks of life, to make sure that the publishers live up to their obligation to ensure accuracy in their materials. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Maynard.
Well, thank you for coming out today, and thank you for your work on that and providing specific information to the staff. Appreciate you doing that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yanis Banks, followed by Patty Quincy. Yanis Banks, Patty Quincy.
Point of information.
We had.
How many late registrants are there?
I think just the one.
Okay.
Pardon me. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. My name is Patty Quincy, and I'm an attorney representing the Texas chapter of the American Federation of Teachers. And first off, we'd like to thank the Texas Freedom Network for seeking out distinguished scholars on the topic of social studies to examine all of the textbooks before you so thoroughly and independently. And after reviewing the report, Writing to the Standards, which was released last week by TFN, we conclude that the SBOE should rely much more on subject matter practitioners, both in standard setting and in Texas textbook review. And if you hadn't had a chance to read the report, I know several of you were asking for some specifics and where some of the problems are located. This report does an excellent job of being very specific about its methodology, its reasoning, and why certain things are appropriate or not appropriate. The problems that have been identified, it seems, throughout the day are traceable to the standards that y'all passed in 2010. And those are the same standards that the Conservative Fordham Institute in 2011 stated are, quote, politicized distortion of history, marked by, quote, misrepresentations at every turn. We're glad that you made some improvements to the process in February of 2013, but the TEKS on which these textbooks are based were completed in 2010, and that was before many of the improvements to the process had a chance to take effect. And again, we feel that the standard setting did not rely enough on practitioners' knowledge and judgment.
Madam Chair,
there's
point of order.
There's a couple of examples I'm about to
Madam
give.
Chair, point of order.
Mr. Bradley.
I know it's late, maybe she's the last speaker, but let's try to stay and keep the discussion germane to specific errors in the textbooks, please.
Do you have some errors in the
Yes,
textbooks?
ma'am, I do.
Okay.
And my point is that the errors can be traced back to the standards. And one example is the concern over states' rights in the abstract as opposed to the defense of slavery was given as undue weight in the TEKS. And as a result, we see in the textbooks that the Texas standards and the textbook influence shows an airbrushed portrait of Confederate motivation to appeal to modern sensibilities, it seems. This is a great disservice to students. In the Pearson book, there is a great distortion of the Gilded Age and description of that. Pearson dismisses the critique of the Gilded Age as cynical and uncritically celebrates the Gilded Age economic policies that, quote, made daily life easier and more fun for many people, end of quote. And there's a little bit more on that. We think that there's time to clean up these standards. You've improved the process since they were drafted, and there's still time to improve it before we get textbooks on them. Thank you, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay.